like it was a magical, I hate using that word because I know we're not in Disney World, but I mean, it was like a magical moment of 2009, 2010, even all the way through 2012 when we went to the state championship.
It most definitely was.
You go back, and I think in preseason, we always played Innsworth, and prior years that they kind of had their way with us, and then 2010 we go out and we kind of have our way with them. They got on the bus kind of crying. They left, and I knew right then. I said, "Boy, I'm gonna screw this up before it's all over."
Well, here's the beauty of that too. Coach Moore would always schedule those scrimmages, and like Coach said, they had their way with us for about 2-3 years. And Coach Bowers, who was the coach at the time, he didn't like it that we were getting after him really good. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but they threw a tunnel screen across the middle, and Trey D destroyed that kid. Actually, broke his spleen. And that's when Coach Bowers just said, "Hey, we're on the bus."
The next call he made that what day was the ambulance service.
Yeah.
They come pick them up.
Yeah, they were gone.
Yeah.
They were gone. They said no more. And I looked at him at the time, and I was like, "We got a chance to be really, really good."
Well, for the first time since I had been there, and I think that was my third year here, we had a presence on defense.
Mm-hmm.
That was the biggest thing.
Well, that leads us right into the Lawrenceburg game, Lawrence County game. That was back when Lawrence County was really, really good. They had that running back and that quarterback, and that free safety. We should have broke his leg the first play because he was coming up making a lot of tackles on us. But it was a first game of the season at home, and it was just both offense and defense were just getting after each other, and it was a great ball game. And Coach Blue and I were walking in at halftime. He looked at me and said, "Man, this is a heck of a football game." I said, "Yeah, I guess it is." The fans were enjoying it. I wasn't enjoying it too much because it was just a good game. And fortunately, we came out on top because they were real good. And I think that's the year we had 5 teams in 2010, 5 teams from our district to go because of the Virginia plan. And it was a tough district that year.
We didn't start Trey D on offense because we had Chris Martin, who was a sophomore. And Chris's body did not look like a typical sophomore. He looked like a senior, even when
Mr. Atlas.
Yeah, and Chris was a very, very, very good player for us, and up to that point, I always liked having 2 tailbacks. I mean, we could have started Tredarius on offense and not played him on defense, but he was kind of the heart and soul of our defense.
Well, let me say this about a decision that you and Coach Blue made. After coming off the 2009 season, Trey D just was not Trey D.
He was wore out.
He was wore out. And y'all two made a decision that we're going to limit, and he accepted this as a team member, not to overplay him on offense. And, boy, you talking about, and I don't think we really understood the benefits of that until we get to that second round and that third round of the playoffs. Trey D's fresh. I mean, you look out there, Miles, he dominated the game. You start with the Knoxville Catholic game all the way through the state championship game. He just dominated because he was fresh.
He was.
And that's because you two made a decision to say, this is what we're going to do, being able to look down that road. And I say this about Trey D. He did not say, well, we're going to get good ball. He accepted it like
Very
a
unselfish.
team player. Yes.
Yeah, and going right along with that, in that playoff stretch, there were some records that, he was just right on the verge of receiving it. It was never about that. And he got most of those records anyway. It really wasn't by design. Coach Moore maybe here and there a few times running him to get those things. But it wasn't a focus for Trey D.
Well, but you go back and you look at this. Throughout the history of the TSSAA state championship games in 5A, now it happens in 1A a lot, sometimes. But he won the most valuable player on offense and defense.
That was an amazing
You
thing.
know, it's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
And plus, on top of that, is he won a state championship game. And I can just imagine what Trey D said. Well, I got the records, or I didn't get the records, but you know what? I got a state championship ring. You know, and, you know, that just goes back to show the quality.
You never heard, like you said, you never heard him throughout the season say, I want the ball more, or I want to play defense more, because it wasn't about him. And the supporting cast that was around him, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, he just loved playing with those guys because he knew, like,
And he always smiled.
always.
Always smiled. I don't think he ever had a bad day.
Well, there was one, the Spring Hill game. He had a bad day.
Yeah.
And then he got a pep talk at halftime, and
That's,
then
that's
he
the only
rushed.
time I fussed at him
Yeah.
in his whole career.
And I think he broke like 3 people's shoulder after halftime. that
Well,
game.
you know, you move on to the Tullahoma game, and, you know,
He took that game hard.
well, we all did.
I was about to say he wasn't the only one.
We all did, but, you know, lessons learned. And I think, and Coach Blue and I have talked about this, I'm not sure if the Tullahoma event didn't happen the way it did, would we have been so focused throughout? You know, we get down there and pretty much the last play of the ball game in overtime. Was it one overtime or two?
One.
One overtime. And they scored. And
He took it personal.
we were so focused on the kick and not the 2-point. And I probably have taken a lot of guilt because of that. I mean, that loss is on me.
But
It's not
wasn't-
on this coaching staff. It was not on the kids. That was on me because I wasn't thinking for myself. From
Wasn't
then on,
the Tullahoma coach worried about if they did tie it up that they would not win the game because they didn't have enough juice
there
left?
was enough juice.
I tell you what was big about that game too was Chris Harris nailing a field goal at the end of regulation from about 42 yards from the left hash. I mean, Hayden moved the team down the field, throwing the ball, and but I think it was on the left hash, and he nailed it. I mean, that gave him so much confidence.
Yeah, that last drive to get in the field goal, Hayden Tate did a wonderful job directing. He was going back pass, he broke and had an angle out of sideline, and he just got the first down by inches and was able to get that field goal off. And yeah, most definitely, I think it leads back to the 09. If that didn't happen to us 09, we was more prepared in 2010 for that situation of a game like that.
And if we don't take that loss though, in the season, it made the victory in the playoffs much sweeter.
Well, we'll get to that because it was sweet, buddy. Let me tell you.
You know, we did not play our best game. We were struggling to throw the ball, which meant we couldn't get the ball to Dre and Eric, and it was super hot and humid that night. I know
And they were a good team.
They
were a
played
good
well.
team. They
We
played
were on the verge of cramping up in a couple of spots, and we didn't play our best. But
It was a Thursday night television game.
That's what I was about to say.
in,
It was on-
in hindsight,
television.
they had to use a trick play to beat us, and I kept that in the back of my mind.
Yeah, I think it did reinforce to our kids that they're going to have to really dig deep, just like they had done in 09. You know, maybe in there we kind of forgot a little bit about how close 09 was to losing key games here and there and how much sacrifice they had to have. And then the Lincoln County game was pretty much just like what Coach Moore said. We didn't play well that game. They did play well, and we got the same results. And I think it kind of forced us into that focus then.
We had a lot of ups. We had a lot of downs. We had Eric's grandfather who passed away during that time. We had another player whose mom passed away during that time. This team in 2010 had a lot to overcome, but they persevered and they came away with the gold ball.